the bass up on this one.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
Hey, this is Ryan Riccatelli from asnews.net, and I'm sitting here in the studio with Paul Lang, our engineer and instructional expert.
What's up, everybody?
We're podcasting to you off the West Coast, California, Carlsbad. This is our second podcast, and thanks to everyone for the amazing amount of emails and cool response we got. We were kind of like nervous about this whole thing. We figured that everyone would kind of figure out that we are truly monkeys. But, you know, we got a lot of good feedback, and we're stoked to hear that everyone is happy with what they're hearing. We raised the bar this week. We actually went out and got some headphones and stuff so that we could sound a little better. And, yeah, we're podcasting to you live off the West Coast here in Carlsbad, California, which we're going to keep telling you. Anyway, this week we got a lot of things going on. Upcoming features, we have Ben Wilson. Ben Wilson called in from Australia, and he's talking about the surf scene and what's going on. Ben was recently invited down to the Kelly Slater Invitational and gives us a heads up on what happened down there. And then also we have a special guest that not many people have heard from in a very long time, and that's Lou Wainman. Lou Wainman gives us about 20 minutes, and it's pretty amazing. He goes into in-depth about what's going on in his world. We're also going to bring you some action sports news, and we're going to bring you some kiteboarding news. So hopefully you'll like the upcoming segment. Alright, we're live here. This is Ryan Riccatelli from asnews.net, and we are broadcasting live out of Carlsbad, California. We have a late breaking news story. We just had Ben Wilson call in from Australia. It's not very often that I get to talk to Ben. And Ben, do we have you on the line? Ben?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
good.
here.
Oh, why don't you say hello to our listeners and tell people who you are?
Hello everyone, I'm Ben Wilson and I'm here in Australia at the moment talking to Ryan and his new radio station.
asnews.net, that's right. So Ben, you know, you were working for Kiteboarder Australia, a great magazine. I don't know if any of you have checked that out, but you should definitely check out kbmag.au. They put out, Ben launched that magazine, how many years ago?
He launched it 2 years back.
He launched it 2 years ago. It's a great magazine. If you haven't had a chance, check it out. It definitely showcases the more edgy, hardcore kiteboarding scene. But he turned over the keys, and he kind of went MIA and has been traveling the world with legendary photographer John Bilderback and some of the other boys, Martin Vari, and they've been really charging, you know, the surf and riding strapless on board. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the trips you've been doing lately, Ben?
Okay, yeah, pretty much about a year ago I finished up at the magazine because, you know, I had this pretty big opportunity to go travel with my major sponsor, Slingshot, with two of my best friends, Martin Barry and Esther on this search for pretty much, you know, trying to kiteboard the, you know, best waves around the world. And we've pretty much done that. We've had heaps of surfing. Unbelievable surfing and some great kiting, and we started out in Australia at the start of this year, in Western Australia and Tasmania, trying to hit a couple of big waves there, and then we moved on to Europe. We've done a bit through Europe, and just a few months we've been spending our time in the South Pacific and Indonesia, so you could say at the moment life's pretty damn good.
Well, dude, I was actually stuck in my office in Carlsbad. You've been to my office before. You know what goes on there.
Yes.
I was stuck in my office on a Saturday.
Yes, I do.
And I happened to turn on NBC, which is our, you know, one of our major networks here, and lo and behold, there you were, Jeff Tobias, and I think Martin Vari, and you guys were on some mission just charging some waves, and I mean, some of the barrels you were getting on with a kite and a surfboard were just absolutely amazing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that side of the sport? I mean, like what goes on actually, what you're doing on the water.
Well, funny enough, because we've been spending so much time on the water, I haven't actually got to see that piece, which I'm dying to do myself. But I've heard about it, and I did see, the footage that we sent there. But basically, I think it was a big part of when we were in Western Australia, we got this one really big heavy shore break, and I think that was a big part of the footage. Plus, then we went on to find this new wave in Indonesia, which is a really hollow wave, and we're actually using the kites and jet skis to pull us into the waves, but holding, still remaining the kite in our hands, but we're actually getting the barrels. It's pretty cool.
Now, you rode that place, the Zoo. I mean, that place is by far one of the heaviest waves that I've seen in kiteboarding, pretty much. I mean, give us what was going through your mind when you were taking donuts at the Zoo.
Well, the zoo is definitely the heaviest wave I've ever surfed or kited, for that fact. It's just this gnarly shore break. And really the only way you can get into it is, with the kite, because in a jet ski there's just, too much chaos and water going on, and it's impossible to paddle into because it comes from such deep water on a surfboard. So kiting is really the only way you can do it. And I was there with Jeff, and, Jeff and I have been travelling for years, and we always push each other, like if someone's doing one thing, like it's just pushing the next person to do it. So we were sort of put in this crazy situation of charging these waves, and he'd get one, then I'd get one, and then, it just ended up turning into chaos. And I definitely had, the biggest wipeout I've ever had in my life, and I think I can say the same for him. It was just one of those, remarkable situations with a couple of friends, and it was all there, and we had a dig, and we had the time of our lives.
Hey, did that wipeout feel like this? I'm just messing with you, dude.
It felt just like that.
Hey, one quick question I also have. I saw Jeff Tobias about a week ago at ASR Trade Show. I know you guys have been really trying to cross-promote into the surfing market. I happened to do an interview with Santiago Aguirre, the founder of Reef Sandals, and he was talking about hanging with you and Jeff and Martine and just some of that stuff going on. I know you've been really instrumental in doing a lot of cross-promotion, and why don't you tell us basically where your mind's at in terms of that, where we are as a sport for pushing the surf and the kite.
Yeah, for sure. I actually read that interview that you done with Santiago. It was super cool. He was the founder of Reef, obviously, and he's shown a really big interest in the kiteboarding, and, he came to us about a year back and sort of said, I can see what you guys are doing. I'd like to help you out, however I could, in the industry. And he sort of had the same vision as us, because we see that kiteboarding in the waves, with a surfboard or a towboard or something, is really complements surfing, and, we can see it playing a big part. I've always, since I started kiteboarding, I've lived by this rule of, when it's glassy in the surf, go surfing. When the surf's really big, go towing. And when there's wind and surf, you go kiteboarding in the waves. So I can see it really fitting in, and we're really trying to push this into the surf market, because we just see a huge area, a huge place where, people are sort of missing out on, good conditions. And we've sort of created this new sport of riding in the waves. And that's what we're really, focused on at the moment, is making the surfers realise that, there is this other thing out there to make the most of all the conditions.
Well, where I grew up, and that's right across the street from the beach. In Carlsbad, California, that is. And I do like to say that because, I'm proud of my roots, and I do come from surfing, and I got into kiteboarding because of surfing, and I know that for the first 4 years of my job, I was told that surf was the wrong way to push this sport. And it's kind of funny because everybody's kind of gone full circle, and where is this sport going? With that said, why don't you give me your feedback with what you think of the past perception is of wave surfing and surfing with a kite to where it is now?
Okay, well, first of all, I think that, kiteboarding did start because of surfing. It was the guys in Maui who actually grabbed the kite, and, they were looking for waves to ride the waves. And that's how the roots of kiteboarding really did start, those guys going out in big waves and trying to ride them or whatever. And then, because of the versatility of the sport, different people got into the sport, and, two of those guys was Elliot and Lou, and they really pushed, doing tricks. They could see another side of the sport. And as it's progressed on, there's just been so many different things that's gone on. And for me, when I started, I just was looking for an alternative to a windy situation when I was in Fiji. Like in the afternoon, the wind would come up and wreck the waves, and I had nothing to do while everybody else was windsurfing and kiteboarding. So that's why I took it up. And initially, when I first got into it, I started jumping around and doing all the tricks and everything, and it's still great, and I still love to do that. But it really brings me back to my roots of, what I really want to do, and that's ride waves. And I think everybody's starting to realise, the potential of it in the waves and the versatility of it never being the same, So I really think it's coming back to that, and it shows, in everything, in videos and magazines and just where the sport's going.
What do you have to say to those people, and there are those people who say that if we push kiting into the surf, it will kill the sport? Because I hear that all the time, and I just laugh, and I say, why do we worry about how we push it? Why don't we just, kite and have everybody do what they want to do?
Yeah, I'm a total believer of that. I don't care what you do as long as you go out and have fun. Do whatever you want to do. But don't try and hold back, progression in that way. Just let it go. Kiteboarding's such a small sport still, and surfing is, such a huge part of the world. It's a huge sport, and to take a slice of that and make people realise is, I can only see it going one way. You'd be silly not to. It's going to only push the sport. So let it go.
Well, as we both know, kiteboarding's definitely getting a lot more notoriety and mainstream press. And we were just talking about you going down to the Kelly Slater Invitational down in Fiji, and that's pretty impressive that you were invited down there. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, actually, it was. I've been looking forward to that event for such a long time, and funnily enough, just before the event was supposed to be on. Actually, what the event was about surfers and surfing trying to make more of a mainstream appeal as well. So what they were doing is they were bringing a bunch of the best surfers in the world over to two secluded islands, along with some movie stars and sort of famous people. And we're going to run the whole sort of feature on MTV and do a surfing event with pros surfing with the stars. And what happened just before the event was there was a coup and a travel warning issued in Fiji. So all the stars didn't turn up, which was a bit of a bummer. All the surfers and everyone was still there, but it was a bummer that the event didn't go ahead. They've got it scheduled again for next year, and I'm meant to go again next year, and I look forward to that. But mostly, the invitational just turned out to be, 1 week-long party and, some surf and, everything else. But most of all, it was just everybody having a good time in the water and making the most of every conditions, and that's where the kiteboarding fell into it.
That's really cool, and I just think it's great that, kiteboarding's getting a lot more mainstream exposure. I want to talk now a little bit about the rail thing and the rail scene going on. You saw what we did in our latest issue, which is available. I'll just tell the listeners, every one of our issues is available online at kbmag.com. You can download it for free, so if you want to see what we're talking about and check out the Santiago Aguirre interview, you can go to our kbmag.com and download it so you know what we are referring to. But you were very instrumental in building that rail scene in Hatteras, and you did see the feature, and I was blown away when the Australian magazine came over and you guys built the camel toe. Tell us what happened. Give us a little bit of the insight on that. Everybody just loves to hear the back end stories, and this is our chance to really give people those details.
Yeah, basically, I had this vision from the beginning, with kiteboarding, and I think it's really similar to your vision as well, and I can see that in your magazine too. So I took it on with what I was already doing, and that was being a professional rider, for Slingshot and my other sponsors. But I took this position on and saw, maybe I could help mould the sport with the magazine and give it, some image and credibility, within the industry and outside of the industry. So we would go and do events stuff that hadn't been done in kiteboarding that maybe was a little bit more crossover with sort of wave or surf. challenging each other in these, epic riding locations. And that's where, like Santiago, caught an eye for what we're doing and sort of, got into the sport and wanted to help us out. And it all pretty much, happened from there. And then I got in a bit of a situation, where I had to make a decision of what I wanted to do career-wise, because the magazine was coming up, really big and was taking up such a big part of my time. But then there was also, the other part of my career where I'm a team rider and, for Slingshot and other sponsors, plus, meaning that I'm a pro kiteboarder. And I had to make a decision on doing one or the other because I simply just didn't have time on, doing both. And obviously, for me, I really wanted to push the surf, and there was a huge opportunity with all my sponsors, supporting me to do this. So that's where I ended up, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Well, I don't really believe you because, as you know, I think the real reason why you're no longer an editor is because of all the smack that has been written about you and me on Kite Forum. We definitely took a lot of...
That's one of the things I miss most of all, is I just don't get slammed enough on the Kite Forum anymore.
Ah, man.
I used to love that thing. It was like so rewarding at the end of the day. You knew you could just get on the Kite Forum and just see how much everybody smashed you. And I know there was plenty of times where we were on the same thread getting smashed together. I used to love that.
Oh, dude, those are part of the glories of being an editor. And if I could ride, at least half as good as you, then maybe I could do this pro kiteboarding thing. But I can't, so I just got to sit here and write about it and talk to people like you on the phone. But hey, man, we've had a lot of good times over the years. We've watched this sport grow, and the reason why I launched this podcast is because there's so much information that the public never gets to hear, and these inside stories of travels and just the back end that a magazine can't seem to just cover every detail. I know my magazine personally, we just don't have enough pages to really give the public the dirt. So that's why we launched asnews.net, and asnews.net is basically, it's an action sports show. We cover headline action sports news, but then we kind of go off into kiteboarding and we bring in different guests. So for example, this week we have you featured, which is really just kind of a random phone call. You're just calling in to check in. And I have another interview with Lou Wainman, which no one's heard from Lou in a year and a half, and so I think that's going to be pretty cool. So anyway, dude, I just really want to thank you for this, and you've known me for a long time. I want to leave you with one thing because, I'm a no bullshit guy. I'm here on the West Coast, and
all I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. You understand?
Oh my God, dude, that's that classic. I love it. And the best thing is this year that I mightn't speak to you for months or see you for like a year or something, but nothing ever changes. I love it. We can just pick up where we left off, and yes, that's a nutshell.
Hey, dude, you know what? I'm going to give you a little slap because I haven't heard from you in a long time. I'm going to slap you again. That's right. I'm slapping you. You hear that? Ben, that's on your forehead. If you were here, I'd be slapping you on your forehead, but you better be giving me a call more often, checking in with us. You've got a direct line with me anytime. I know our listeners definitely like what you're doing. I love what you're doing. You keep it up. You tell your crew that I support them 100%, and anytime they want to talk, you know the number, asnews.net, brother.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate the support, and the same goes. We love what you're doing, and keep it up. Get your magazine over here in Australia, too.
Hey, we're trying, man. Hey, I'm gonna sign out of this. Hello, this is Ryan Riccatelli with ASNews.net, and we're recording live off the west coast of California. We're about ready to bring you the action sports news for the world, and we need to check our action sports computer. Hang on one second. At the top of the news, Kelly Slater just won the Boost Mobile Pro this last weekend at Lower Trestles. Slater battled it out with Aussie Phil McDonald to claim the victory. Phil said that he wasn't going to give it to Kelly easy, but Kelly gave him a... and that's right, and he took the victory. Kelly Slater's 33 years old, and it looks like he's going after his 7th world title. Good luck to you, Kelly. Next on the agenda, it looks like Europe is planning their first artificial surf break. Planners in Bournemouth agreed, wherever it's at, they're planning on building an artificial surf reach, which is actually quite interesting. It looks like they're going to include 170 homes at the eastern end, and there'll be 42 beach huts on the seafront. So you go get them, boys. Next on the agenda, we have the Gravity Games. The Gravity Games will be taking place October 6th through the 9th. Be sure to check it out on kiteforum.com for more information. Looks like snowboard maker Burton just went Gucci and opened up a store right in Lower Manhattan. The 4,600 square foot store is a part of an effort to become a year-round lifestyle brand. It looks like they're following Quicksilver's path and using New York as one of their prime spots to bling out their stuff. Next on the agenda, it looks like the October 13th through the 16th, we have the next stop on the Do Action Sports Tour. You'll definitely want to check it out. It's happening in Orlando. If you want to get more information on this, it's www.doactionsportstour.com. Check it out. There's a lot of good information. Thank you very much for this segment of actionsportsnews.net.
You share with me your magic.
Hey, hang on, you guys. I'll be right back.
We're going to take a moment to say thank you to some of our sponsors, and I know commercials aren't very fun, but all these people are helping to make this thing happen. First off, want to thank the Ring Media and the Kiteboarder magazine. All of us here at asnews.net are affiliated with the Kiteboarder magazine, and we all love action sports. Each of us, we surf, we kite, we wakeboard, we skate. You know, we really do these sports that we talk about. All of us live here in Southern California. We're podcasting to you out of Carlsbad. That's where I grew up, and this is real. All of us aren't very good at all these sports, but we like them, and we know that there's nothing out there like this, so we wanted to bring to you something really cool and interesting and fun and just something progressive. So we hope you like our podcast. We want to thank ToeSurfer.com for helping us. We're going to be having an upcoming feature with Eric, the owner of Toe Surfer, and we'll be talking about Chopo, the 9/11 swell. It's going to be an interesting story. That will be happening in our podcast number 3. Also want to thank Extreme Hotels and Cabarete. Extreme Hotels has definitely supported us. Check out extremehotels.com. They've got live webcams down there. They've got live weather. Definitely, if you go down there, say hello to Josh. He's the guy who runs the place. Kiteforum.com. Want to say thanks to Toby for helping us get the message out and supporting us. Kiteforum.com. A lot of the kiteboarding news that we talk about is posted on Kiteforum.com. Want to thank kitebeaches.com. If you're looking for a place to go kiteboard, learn to kiteboard, you want to check out the launch, check out kitebeaches.com. Definitely want to thank Red Bull for powering us up to do this broadcast. Red Bull definitely giving us some Red Bulls so we can get up here and talk about the news really fast. Sometimes these days they're long, and Red Bull definitely gives us what we need to make this podcast happen. West Coast Kiteboarding, that's Paul's school. Paul is going to be, or will be, one of our instructional experts and be interviewing a lot of the pros on different instructional elements in our upcoming podcast. Want to thank Alexis Rovira, who is my editor-at-large. Alexis is basically our spiritual advisor around here. He keeps things flowing, keeps everybody stoked. Want to thank Marina Chang. She's our publisher. She's making sure she's our den mother, and she puts up with all of our stuff. So anyway, we hope that we don't offend any of you. We're just having fun here. If you have any good ideas you want to send our way, please do. We have our blog as well, and that's at asnews.net. If you don't know what a blog is, get on there, say hello to us, tell us what you think, tell us we suck. We don't care. We just want you to come and just say that you've been there. If you dial into asnews.net, look for the AS News blog, and definitely go in there and make your mark. Just want to give a shout out to Silverback Management for hooking us up with the music. Silverback's a great company representing bands like Slightly Stoopid, Fishbone, Sublime, Skunk Records, Mishka, Beautiful Girls. Definitely got a bunch of good bands on that label. Go to Google, check out Silverback Management. Definitely want to throw a shout to Slightly Stoopid, slightlystoopid.com. If you haven't heard them, check them out. Those guys are the snizzle my nizzle. Definitely want to thank everyone for listening to us and all the supportive letters and emails and just words of encouragement from our crew. We're going to reach out. We've got some really cool stuff up ahead. We're going to be interviewing designers. You guys want to know about bow kites? We're going to bring the bow kite designers to you. You want to know about foils? You want to know? Let's take it straight to the source, and we'll be podcasting that stuff to you weekly. We'll be also bringing in some major players from other action sports industry, and they're going to be interviewed and talking about their disciplines. And yeah, we do talk about a lot of kiteboarding here, but we are all about action sports news, and as this program evolves, we will probably separate the two and become a Kiteboarding Mag podcast along with an action sports podcast. So anyway, just wanted to give you a heads up on what our plans are with asnews.net. We hope you're enjoying the show, and let's get back to business. Time to go into some kiteboarding news. Here's the kiteboarding news for this week, and hang on one second, let me pull it off the printer. Looks like we have the Kiteboarding World Cup happening in Sardinia. That will be going on September 25th through October 2nd. It will be a freestyle event, a long-distance event, and a wave event. The entry fee is $100, and if you want to check it out, go to www.pkra.info. There'll probably be live web feeds. It's definitely worth a. You should definitely check it out. Next on the list, it looks like the Bronia brothers up in Traverse City are holding their Fly to Red Bull King of the Air qualifier. Traverse City is a great place. I was there a couple years ago, and I spent 4th of July with the Bronia brothers, and those guys have been very instrumental in growing the kiteboarding scene up there. So check it out at bronia.com. That's BRONEAH.com, and they have a special press release on their site. Next, we want to talk about San Carlos Wave Trip with Adam Cook. It looks like Solo Sports will be having a wave clinic down there October 29th through November 5th. If you want to check out more information, email baja@solosports.net or call 949-289-7779. Be sure to tell them that asnews.net sent you. Next, we want to talk about Real Kiteboarding is releasing their new instructional video. It is 0 to Hero, and I have been talking with Tripp and Matt for the last couple months about this video, and they have been telling me it's hot, and I'm not just telling you that because they're my friends. I'm telling you that because I really believe in what these guys do. They have a great program out there. They have a great school, and I'm sure that their video is going to be awesome. You can get more information about this at realkiteboarding.com. That's realkiteboarding.com. We were supposed to host Matt Nuzzo and Tripp this week on our podcast and talk about some of the hurricane that hit there. The hurricane, nothing happened there. We'll be adding, actually, Real Kiteboarding to our segment. Matt Nuzzo will be checking in once a week with us and giving us an update, an instructional update. So that should be really fun and interesting. If you have any questions about instruction, definitely send them our way, editor@kbmag.com. Or you can go into our blog and post your questions on there of what you might want to see on the or hear about on the show, and we'll get it out there. Our goal is to get you what you want to hear. Next, we have the Cabrini Switchblade. It looks like it's another bow-type kite. These bow kites are really taking over. Everybody, I wouldn't even call it a bow kite because there's all these controversies on what you call it. But check it out. Kiteforum.com has the new press release. It looks like a hot kite. I know the inside scoop on these type of styles of kites is pretty incredible. The word is Nash has one that's looking really good. There's a lot of innovation and R&D that's going into these kites, and it's great to see that these kites are evolving. And in the next couple weeks, we'll be hosting some designer interviews, so that should be really fun and interesting. We also have, looks like Nash just released their new Boxer kite. The Boxer's been around for several years. It's a good kite. It's solid. I've flown it. I've had a lot of fun on it. You should check it out. You can check it out at nashkites.com. That wraps up our news for this week. If you have any news that you think we missed or news that you want to hear on asnews.net, be sure to email us or put it under our blog, and we'll try and get it up online. Thank you very much, and we hope you have a good night and enjoy the rest of the show. Hello, this is Ryan Riccatelli with ASNews.net, and we are recording live here on the West Coast in Carlsbad, California. Tonight we have a special guest. We're going to call him in. It's Lou Wainman. A lot of people have not heard from Lou in a long time, and so we're going to bring you Lou. Hang on 1 second, and let me try and get Lou on the line. I can barely contain myself. Maybe we'll drop a bomb before we get online.
What's up?
Hey Lou, this is Ryan Riccatelli with ASNews.net, and you're live on the air.
Yay!
How are you, man?
What's happening, man?
Nothing. I haven't talked to you in a while, and basically, yeah, we're podcasting here off the West Coast in Carlsbad. You've been to my place before.
No.
Yeah. We're just,
Cool.
So, you know, I know that not many people have heard of you in a while, or from you in a while, and, you know, and basically, everybody wants to know.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
Just in Maui, man. Riding, working, having fun. What are you doing, dude? How's things in California?
California is good, man. It's not as windy over here, but, you know, I've been putting in work, trying to make things happen. I've got the Kiteboarder magazine, and then I've got this ASNews.net that we've been launching, and, you know, but I know that our listeners are very interested in you, and any time that I can share with them what you're doing and where you've been riding, they just are, anybody I talk to in my travels is always interested in what you're doing. So, why don't you tell the world, like, what's going on in Lou's riding? What have you been doing on the water?
I don't remember.
Lou, hang on a second. It sounds like it's an emergency over there, man. We need to get you some help, bro.
So nice here, man. Like, I was driving home and I saw Elliot out at Hokipa, and there's like 6 windsurfers out there, fucking riding his surfboard, big kite, light wind. Fucking cool, man. Perfect waves, unbelievable, man.
Have you been getting on the water, like on a surfboard, or how have you been getting on the water?
Yeah, I've been riding my surfboard. I don't know, ride the waves better, learn how to just kind of ride the board fast through the water. I don't know, I kind of, you know, the equipment's expensive, so for me it's like, I don't know, I just work every day and ride when I can, and, you know, try and keep it simple.
I mean, what do you, I know that you're like doing your thing and you're just chilling, and you've kind of taken like another road in this sport, which I think is cool, and everybody has a right to do what they want to do. How do you feel when you see all these younger kids? I mean, you've got like Ruben Lenton, who I think the kid's 15, 16 years old, and I mean, he is like literally doing stuff that you were doing, you know, 5 years ago on a 2-line kite, and and he's like at the top of the sport right now, and you're the vision that these kids have had, and they didn't even know that, like, you're the father of this style of riding, and now you don't even do that style of riding. So, like, it's strange to me, and I think the world might want to know how you feel about, like, setting the stage for where the level of riding is today.
For me, I'll be honest, like about 2 or 3 years ago, I kind of saw something else in the sport. I don't know, man, like, I would just say, like, you know, I feel really lucky to be a part of the start of kiteboarding, and I honestly believe for the longest time that that's kind of like where I wanted to spend the rest of my life, and running around the world doing that. But it's kind of weird because about 2 or 3 years ago, I started to see kind of boredom in the sport, you know. It's kind of, you go out, you do trapeze act, you know, you make it, it's great, you know, if you don't, it sucks, hurt yourself, whatever. But, like, I just figured, man, you're like in windsurfing, and
boring. I don't know. You know, it's spend another 10 years going out there, you know, riding, which is awesome. But I think that inflatable technology can be used to make something else that is not so dangerous, is a little bit more like facing the winds, you know, something that's like a wing, you know. So,
you and I have both talked about it in the past and watched this sport evolve to where it is today. And where do you want to see it really go? I mean, do you want to see it go in every direction, or do you want to see it just be safer? I mean, you know what I mean? Where would you like to see it go? Like more kids on the water, everyone on the water?
well, I think, like, I would say, in my honest opinion, that people see the sport for the first time and it's like, whoa, this is amazing, you know, and it is. You have so much more potential of capturing the wind and controlling it, and then doing windsurfing, which, you know, windsurfing by itself is an amazing sport. But when you look at the versatility of kiteboarding and not just the age groups involved and not just like what people bring over from crossover sports like snowboarders and how they project the sport, how they represent, how even the landboarders down to your average wakeboard kiteboard guy to just your whatever, you know, everybody. So for me, honestly, like, I see that people will always enjoy that aspect of it, but there'll always be kind of that hesitant feeling of getting in the sport because it's super dangerous, you know, the way that it's at the moment, the way that it's being kind of debuted, you know. It's only a 6-year-old sport, man. And I look at that inflatable technology, like the ability of putting a bladder inside of a mylar sleeve, and you can pump up different shapes. Very lightweight, but super, super strong. Now, this is something that we learned when we started the company back in 1998, you know, with this super smart designer named Barry Spaniel, who for years worked in the windsurfing industry. And this guy knew a lot about the history of the split and how the sport all started, and he was actually involved in that first era, and, you know, the days of Manu and Laird and stuff. And, man, that inflatable technology, we made some stuff like bats that were like, they weighed nothing, man, ounces. And it was like a fuselage, you know, like of an airplane, and they were so light and so strong. And that technology, you know, encompassed with like some sort of big harness with wings on it or something, using that, you know, with airfoils and all that stuff. So that's where my mind is, man. I can't. It's like an enigma, you know.
Well, let's go back to the roots and let's go back to the beginning. And what was it like being there on Kite Beach back in the day and actually coming up? I mean, you were one of the guys who came up with the idea to put a wakeboard on and go out and do this on a wakeboard rather than a surfboard. What was that like, and what was going through your mind, like, when you came to that conclusion? Hey, I'm a wakeboarder from Florida. I'm going to come to Maui. I know you came to Maui to windsurf, and then one day, what did you just say? Hey, I'm going to fly this kite and ride a wakeboard. I mean, what was going through your mind?
Man, we were just living in Maui, man. It was awesome. Like, we were into windsurfing, we were into surfing. I mean, this place is amazing. It's like a waterman's heaven, you know. Basically, one day, you know, that's what we did. We saw Manu, man. He was out there on a key-line kite, and that was, you know, a floating type of kite. And we were like, whoa, I think that's the answer, you know, for the next sport. That's it. It's just like, it not only is a new thing, but it also gathers from all the other sports. And being a part of that movement, I mean, I wasn't the first, man. There were so many people performing, even guys performing who rode wakeboards, like, what's his name? From Oahu, I don't remember. Oh, look.
Yeah, we got the Jeopardy going right now. While you think about it.
What's the guy's name?
Alright. What's your answer? I'm going to have to beep you out.
The point is that there's a lot of people involved in the beginning from the windsurfing industry and being a part of that.
Hey, if you can get out of the wind, it would be really good.
Part of it.
And another thing I want to bring up to the listeners that they don't realize is Lacotte. I mean, Lacotte was a very significant moment in the history of kiteboarding, and you went over there, and I mean, what year was that? Was that in 1999 or 2000?
Yeah, 99.
99, you went over there. Jimmy Lewis, you and Jimmy and Elliot had been banging out boards together. You came up with the new design, and you went over there and talk about what happened over there, because to me, that's when I really started following kiteboarding. And as like just a person who was sitting on the West Coast, I didn't even know you then, I was just amazed on what you did over there, and I'm not blowjobbing you or giving you, you know, the okey doke or whatever you want to call it. I'm just saying straight up, dude, that was impressive. And explain to the public what went down.
Man, I think that was the first time we traveled to Europe. Me and Elliot. It was like, let me think. There was pretty good conditions here, like the whole 2 to 3 months before that we left. So we had a lot of opportunity to ride and learn a lot of stuff. We had a really good plan. You know, we just stayed with what we knew, which was, you know, doing coast runs, basically from like a 9-mile downwind journey, so that you could focus more on your tricks and just kind of feel things, you know. And yeah, then we got to the cot, and we had a blast. That place is unreal. It's so cool to see everyone bleeding, you know. Everyone was like, oh yeah, this sport is shit, man. Like, everyone was just, you know, involved and enthusiastic, and it was like, man, anything could go down, you know. And it did, man. That place is so windy, man.
You blew people away on the ponds, though. I mean, no one had ever seen anybody ride a wakeboard, and that was the first time you and Elliot got on the pond and showed them what was up.
Oh man, the pond, yeah. What an unbelievable spot, man. Like, it was so crazy. It was so crazy, and there was like helicopters, like these huge German helicopters, of course, like whatever, landing like just upwind because the wind was coming from the opposite direction. So like this huge helicopter lands, like we're freaking out, like, oh my god, dude, everyone's running around. Yeah, that place is unreal, man. So much fun there.
You know what you did to the competition over there? That's right. You slapped him. You gave him a bitch. That's right. 1999, Lou Wainman over in Lacotte, representing for the US of A, came over there, showed everyone what was up on a wakeboard. Elliot LeBeau as well. What did you finish in that contest?
Second base.
Hey, that's all right. It really doesn't matter at this point. The whole point is, though, that was the first time that a twin-tip board was really introduced into kiteboarding. And next year, the evolution of the sport, every manufacturer made a twin-tip board. So really, that's like Lacotte in a nutshell, and you heard it straight from Lou Wainman. You know, Lou and Elliot, they are like synonymous back in the day. You and Lou, basically, I mean, you and Elliot, you guys were, you know, went to the beach every day, rode every day. You pushed each other. You lived together. You still hang with Elliot? What's your relationship there?
Yeah, Elliot's an unreal guy, man. He's a super good friend, super intelligent guy, man. I tell you. I mean, this guy, if you ever have a question on like industry stuff, I mean, just like a walking encyclopedia, man. Super bright. I respect the guy a lot, man. And I'll tell you, man. We go way back, dude. We're really good friends, and I'll always respect Elliot, dude. Like, stand-up dude. So, yeah, man, we went there, had so much fun, went to so many other places there. Fuck, man.
Hey, let's talk about Jimmy Lewis. Do you still work with Jimmy Lewis on boards?
Actually, lately I've been just working on my own stuff. I kind of made a decision about a year ago that the whole sponsor route is awesome because, you know, you're involved with people who are excited, you run around and get paid, but there's kind of a downside because you're spending all your time and all your money, which, you know, it gets tight, man, and you end up not even riding. So for me, I just, this past year, man, I've been really lucky to be able to kind of cut my expenses and just ride, have fun, work, keep my expense about me, just, you know, enjoy life and, you know, be around friends. And so right now, that's what I'm doing and working on my own stuff. So, you know, Jimmy's an amazing shaper, man. This guy, you know, has helped me out so many times, so many different ways. But, you know, he's a super cool guy, man. So, I always respect Jimmy too, man. But comes a point where you gotta just do your own deal, you know?
No, I understand, and that's cool. And, you know, I think a lot of our listeners would be really interested in, like, what board are you riding? Like, how big is the board that you're riding?
Usually just different surfboards.
Yeah, like your board that I know you ride like a million different things, and I can't even keep up with you. But like basically, like what is your average? Like, are you riding like a surfboard, strapless? What are you riding these days?
Yeah, usually just a surfboard with small kite and short lines and pulley bar. And I figured out a way to kind of depower and power up the kite without having any attachments, you know, just by technique. So, but I found that out and just been working on that. You know, it's kind of like tuning a racket. You shoot in the kite by wrapping the lines around the bar, and to, you know, to go off from the beach, you have the kite depowered so that you have the optimal, you know, feel for all the conditions and a lot of the type of riding that you try and do. So that's, you know, I found this kind of equation where in the kite out of the water, being able to go upwind real fast, to be able to sprint, to be able to stop, to be able to turn, that the smartest thing would be to just focus on how to ride with really short lines and make the kite move really fast instead of just shooting it in all the time. So for me, it's, you know, it's the simplest form without being attached to the kite, which has always been kind of a dilemma, because being attached to the kite, even though it offers you that ability to shoot in the kite and out, even with a leash, it becomes kind of dangerous. But that's my own opinion. You know, people do what they want to do, man. That's cool thing. I have my fun, they have their fun, everyone's cool. So
yeah, you know, I got another thing to remind you of, or a little bit of nostalgia for us both. I remember we were chilling in Maui. I think it was like 2001. I think I don't know exactly where you were at and who you were riding for at the time, but we were sitting on Kite Beach and we're out there and you're going off on a filibuster on some type of design or whatever, and I was just like listening going, yeah, whatever, because most of the time it takes me about 2 months to understand what you're really talking about, because you just think like that. But at any rate, you were taking me through a kite loop and you're explaining to me what you were trying to do, and that's exactly what I was trying to explain. Like, it took me 6 months to finally realize what you were talking about until I finally saw a sequence of Bertrand who did this kite loop. And so, like, what do you think about this kite looping? I mean, do you even kite loop anymore? And, like, I mean, where do you think it's going to go? Or, you know what I mean? Give me some feedback on that.
Man, I just do a little bit of everything, you know, when the conditions call for it. You know, this is, you know, it's diversified, man. When there's waves, I think we're that way. That's really been my focus. I mean, for the cost of it, you know, if you can have a sponsor to back you up with equipment, yeah, I'd go for many kite loops and handle passes all day long. You know, it's just a few guys, you know.
What about, you ever get the hanker for going old school, whipping out one of your old two-line viruses and getting out there and throwing it down, an old school slim?
Oh, I know. Yeah, man, you know, just like, it's crazy, man. Life's crazy. That's all I can say, man. So many things can happen slowly and so fast, and you gotta go with the flow, man. So.
But anyway, Lou, hey, one other quick question. People don't really know where you're at, man. You're fully off the radar. Where are you living these days?
That's where I like it, man. Man, it comes at a cost, I'll tell you.
It comes at a cost.
For sure. Man's got all his freedom, man, I'll tell you. That's the bottom line, man. Yeah.
I agree with you on that. And, hey, I really appreciate you spending the time with us on the phone tonight. And we'll be checking back in with you on a regular basis and seeing what you're up to. And, hey, is there any last things you want to say to everybody?
Just call me back and let's talk for a little while.
All right, hang on. I'm going to leave you with this, okay? One last little thing.
There comes a time in every friendship when you have to say, I never liked you, get lost.
All right, Lou, I'll talk to you later.
Short day, long, sweaty night. Changing of the equinox.
Summertime and the living Rogers on the microphone with Ross MG. All the people in the dance will agree that we're well qualified to represent.
Well, looks like Fred's piping in. It's time for us to throw in the towel and conclude the second podcast. We want to thank everyone for listening and tuning into us and putting up with our riffraff. This is Ryan Riccatelli, asnews.net, polluting the airwaves of action sports and podcasting. We want to invite everyone to check out asnews.net's blog at asnews.net. Please log in and tell us how much we suck. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next week.
Say good night to the bad guy.
Things hotter than cocoa, yes, smooth as cocoa butter. Her mind was flooded. Closing my shutters, imagining microphones and laying under the covers with my baby bear.
We're going to take a moment and teach you how to subscribe to our iTunes, and basically it's really simple. We podcast off of iTunes right now, and what you want to do is you want to open up your iTunes browser, and you're going to need 5.0 or higher. It's available free at iTunes.com. What you're going to do is you're going to open up that browser. You're going to look for a green music store. Over on the left-hand corner, there's a little music sign in it. It says Music Store. You click on that. Once you go into there, you're going to look at the left side of the browser, and you're going to see a little link, and it says Podcast. You're going to click on that. Once you click on the podcast, you're going to go down, and you're going to see a search bar, and you're going to enter in Action Sports. And once you enter in Action Sports, you hit the little search engine, and it takes you right there, and you will see our podcast. We're right below ABC Sports. That's right, asnews.net, your ultimate action sports podcast, and you'll see where there's a little button where it says Get, and right by it, it's free. Our podcast is podcasted free, and it's available to everyone in the world. So if the best thing you can do is tell your friends about it, download it every week, go into our blog at asnews.net, and definitely send us a message and let us know what you think. Thank you.